everyone. Sharyn Alexander with Sun Summit Minerals. Nice to see everyone here. So we are a junior exploration company focused on gold in British Columbia. Here's some cautionary notes about forward-looking statements I may be making, so please do your own due diligence. So I mentioned we're in central British Columbia. So this is a great jurisdiction. We're just south of the Golden Triangle, so the infrastructure is pretty incredible. We can drive right to the drill rig. Our seasonality is 12 months out of the year, so that keeps exploration costs low. We have our Buck project. The main system we have is the Buck main deposit, so we are putting a maiden resource on this. We expect to complete that in Q1 of 2024. So this is more of a bulk tonnage style system. We have long intercepts of continuous low to moderate grade mineralization, 0.5 gram to 0.7, 0.8 gram per ton gold. And then as well, we added on the CR project earlier this year. That was a project from Teck. It's a copper molybdenum project, and it has some existing drill holes. So pretty exciting potential on our 52,000 hectare property. I mentioned the jurisdiction. There's a lot of formerly producing mines. We closed an oversubscribed financing in May of this year, so we have cash in the bank. In terms of upcoming catalysts, we have 4 drill holes yet to be released. That's from our fall program. We are putting that MRE on Buck Main, and then as well, we're looking at other significant opportunities for shareholder value. So in terms of the jurisdiction, I mentioned that it's in a mining-friendly region. So we do have formerly producing mines. Equity Silver Mine is just to the east of us. That at one point was one of the largest silver producers in British Columbia. Huckleberry Copper Mine is to the southwest. That's currently on care and maintenance. I believe that closed in 2016, but they're going to be bringing that back into production, hopefully, so that'll be great for the region. Our project is road accessible, so we have a road or a trail going through our Buck Main project. And then the CR project, it's on the Huckleberry Mine Haul Road, so we do have access from the west as well. I'll point out the Blackwater gold mine. So this is to the southeast, maybe 170 kilometers. This is a geologic analog to our Buck Main system. So it's more bulk tonnage gold, silver. They also have zinc as well, which they're not including in their mine scenario. They recently got permitted. So Artemis Gold bought the company, I believe, in 2020. They received their mine permit Q1 of this year, and they expect their first gold pour Q3 of 2024. So things have been pretty rapidly progressed at Blackwater, so that's great to see in BC. And as well, in terms of their proven and probable reserves, they're at 8 million ounces at 0.75 gram per ton gold. So we're not talking huge grades. These aren't super high, but these are the kind of grades that we do see at our Buck Main system, 0.5 gram, 0.6, 0.7 gram per ton gold. But the reason that makes it economic is because the size and scale. So we have a large amount of mineralization right from surface. It's continuous, and so this would actually be economic in a mining scenario. So the Buck project, Sun Summit has 98 drill holes that we've drilled. So you can see the size. We're over a kilometer strike length, so this is a kind of size and scale that they had at Blackwater. We are still unconstrained, so we're open in all directions and at depth. The blue holes are the 4 holes yet to be released from our most recent drill program. We did have some wildfire delays, and so that's why we're still getting drill results from our summer-fall program. But we see incredible expansion potential to the north and the northwest specifically. We're seeing long intervals of this continuous, more bulk tonnage mineralization. As well, we get smaller intercepts of higher grade. So we do have high grade here, 1.5 meters of close to 50 gram per ton gold, and then as well 0.5 meter of 250 gram per ton gold. So in terms of putting a resource on this, we're thinking there could be, the disseminated mineralization would be one specific domain, and then this could have a high-grade core, which could bring in additional ounces to that mineral resource estimate. Here's a quick long section. You can see right from surface, we do have the continuous grades of mineralization, and then as well the high grade in the center. And so there's more holes to be added, the 13 holes from our most recent program, and that will be added to this slide. And here's a quick long section and plan view. You can see the expansion potential that we've been able to achieve over the past few years. So we're over a kilometer strike length, 600 meters depth, and about 700 meters width. So this just shows you just how successful we've been at finding additional mineralization. And then from here, we'll be able to see just how many ounces are in the ground when the MRE is completed. Again, here's the comparison with Blackwater. So they have 8 million ounces at 0.75 gram per ton gold. Very similar size and scale that we have, and keep in mind we're unconstrained. So it's a very similar deposit model, very similar geophysics and geochemistry. And what's important to note as well is that we have a unique association with zinc, which is not often seen in this style of system. There's the sulfides that we're seeing is pyrite and sphalerite, and so the sphalerite is where we're seeing some of the zinc come from. And we've been using zinc as a pathfinder metal. You can see zinc a lot more easier in the surface environment through surface geochemistry, a lot easier than you can with gold. And so we've been using zinc as a pathfinder metal, and we've been quite successful in finding gold mineralization through searching for zinc. And that's something that shares with Blackwater as well. I mentioned we have 52,000 hectares, so it's in a pretty favorable area. It's a known porphyry belt, so we have copper, gold, as well as silver. So there's a lot of discovery potential on this project. We have a lot of targets in the pipeline. 2 of these targets we drilled for the first time this year, so that would be Eagle Eye and Irk. This was scout drilling. There's not that much outcrop in this area, and so it's pretty unique in that we have to rely on geophysics and geochemistry and look for coincident anomalies in order to find these drill targets. So we did some initial scout drilling on Irk and Eagle Eye for the first time outside of the Buck main zone. We did receive a property-wide drill permit last year. We found some pretty interesting mineralization, and we'd like to go back and follow that up. But then in addition, we also acquired this tech project in June. It was a pretty good deal. It was shares only, no cash, no exploration commitments. So we think that was a pretty amazing deal for us. It's the CR project. It does have some existing drilling on it. They're looking for copper and molybdenum. However, I mentioned in this area, it's pretty metal endowed, and so there's also precious metals potential here. So just focusing in on the CR zone, you can see where the previous drilling has been done towards the center of what's called the South Porphyry. So there's about 15 or 20 holes here drilled by Teck and also previous companies. So we're looking at 68 meters of 0.5% copper, over 100 meters of 0.3% copper. One of the holes ended in 0.5% of copper. When Teck did their drilling, it was pretty standard drilling to 300 meters. They weren't thinking like explorationists, for example, and so they shut the holes down. If we were to go back here, we would definitely think with more of an explorationist frame of mind, a bit more flexible depending on what mineralization we see at the core. So already there are some pretty low-hanging fruit in terms of drill targets, and so we could definitely return here in the new year. In addition, we did some field exploration, so surface geochemistry, rock, soil, and stream sampling. And we found a new zone of copper mineralization in an area that had never before been tested. So that's towards the bottom center. 1% copper, 0.94% copper in rock samples. So that's pretty impressive in areas that hasn't been previously explored. And then as well, we have some really great precious metal, gold and silver values that we found in stream samples and soil samples. You can see as well there's a IP geophysical survey that's been done on the property from Teck. So that's something that we can go back and expand on the geophysics. So all of this is moving the property towards drill targeting. But definitely there are some existing drill targets that are around the areas that Teck have drilled previously. In terms of ESG, we engage with all the local First Nations, which in British Columbia and Canada is something that really we hold in high standard. We engage with all the different groups in our areas. We have an exploration agreement with one of those groups. We hire Indigenous we hire Indigenous people and hire Indigenous run companies. And so this is something that with their partnership, we can definitely get further on the project. And then, of course, for environmental, we try to keep the disturbance down low, not just because we're required through permits, but also we feel it's the right thing to do. There are a lot of trails, logging trails, forest service roads in this area, and so we're lucky that we can drill off a trail, for example, instead of building a new drill pad. We're pretty early stage where we don't need to be that specific about where we are. We're targeting something in the subsurface, and so we just angle the hole in a different way. So in this way, we're able to keep the disturbance down low. And also hiring local just makes business sense. A lot of people know the area, they know different access, they know the terrain, so it definitely helps us out. In terms of share structure, we're just at 105 million shares outstanding, about 143 million fully diluted. We're sitting at about a $5 million market cap, and we have just under $2 million in the bank. Most of that came from our oversubscribed financing in May. So we do run a pretty tight company in terms of monthly overhead. We don't do a lot of spending. We're not frivolous with our money, and so we do have quite a bit of it left over. Exploration costs are quite low here because it is road accessible. We don't have to rely on helicopters like the Golden Triangle. In terms of ownership, 23% is insiders. So that is partially our former chairman, Tukey Angus. So he's a pretty known industry player in Canada and British Columbia. He founded K92. He has a lot of other wins as well. He unfortunately passed away earlier this year, but the shares are in his estate, and the family we're very close with, and so they're pretty tightly held. And then the other 12% is actually the property vendor. So this is an optioned property. We're in the 4th year of a 5-year earn-in agreement, and we intend to own this property outright. The property vendor is a big fan of the property, obviously, and really believes that this is going to be a future mine. Most of the shareholders are high net worth or retail, so that's great to see. We have a lot of shareholders that came in when we were previously known as San Marco Resources. So we did have copper assets in Mexico. Those have since been sold off to a private company, Green Earth Metals, and I believe they'll be going public sometime next year. So, and we're about a 30% shareholder of that company, so we have additional copper exposure through them. And then the rest is institutional, which most of them came in through previous financings. We get pretty good volume, and I see we have a little bit of an uptick in the share price, so that's great to know. Hopefully, the market, it's quite sad to look at a lot of stock charts right now, and everybody is in the red, so it's nice to know that, people are still paying attention to stories, and hopefully some good news can actually move the mark. I'm president of the company. The previous CEO, Bob Willis, he's now senior advisor. Part of our technical team is Dr. Christopher Leslie. He was actually part of the discovery team of Blackwater, back when it was known as Richfield Ventures, that then got out by New Gold and now owned by Artemis Gold, which is putting that into production. For our board, we have a pretty seasoned board in terms of, companies. I myself I'm a geologist. I've worked for SRK, Barrick, B2 Gold, K92 is our previous chairman. One of our board members is involved with the Augusta Group. So we have a pretty good track record of value creation and putting projects into development and production. So in terms of upcoming catalysts, I did mention that we have about 4 holes left to be released from our most recent drill program. Those are going to be out very shortly. We are putting out an initial maiden resource on the Buckmain system, and so that will be out, I'm hoping, around PDAC of next year. A lot of discovery potential around the project, specifically in the CR area, the project that we picked up from Teck earlier this year. And then as well, I want to mention there is, a lot of opportunities happening right now. There's a lot of companies with great projects. Maybe they don't have money. Looking at the jurisdiction that we're in, there's a lot of really great projects. So we are looking at all opportunities, which would include M&A opportunities. So definitely we'd like to see more value brought to shareholders, and that's something that we're actively looking at. There's a lot of strategic conversations that are happening right now, so definitely stay tuned for more news.